Hold your breath, okay?
I woke up to the sound of fingernails scratching the cabin floorboards. It was my wife, except she wasn't using her hands. She was dragging herself by her elbows, legs twisted behind her like they'd been broken hours ago. Her pajama shirt was soaked through, dark, wet, sticking to her ribs. Blood smeared behind her like she was erasing herself across the wood.
Honey, please.
Her voice cracked. My daughter crawled out from behind her. It was dark, but I was sure half her face looked caved in. Her breath choked wetly with every movement. Then my son appeared last, pulling himself towards me, leaving streaks of red like paint that stretched from his jaw. It hung wrong, swinging on cartilage. They weren't screaming. They were begging.
Stop it, please. You have to stop.
My wife whispered. But it wasn't me. I didn't do this. I didn't remember doing anything. I'd just woken up on the couch. That's it. Then they all lifted their heads at the exact same time, eyes going wide, like something behind me had finally entered the room. I turned, and everything went black. I opened my eyes. I'm lying in a hospital bed, and I can hear the doctors talking about me outside my door. Their voices are low, murmuring like a distant river. I catch words. Catatonic. Trauma-induced. The drip of the IV is the loudest sound in the world. Drip, 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 like a clock counting down to nothing. Then I hear it. A name. My name. But not from the doctors. From the tiny speaker on the remote by my head. I turn to the TV mounted on the wall. It's on low volume, but the closed captioning is running. A news anchor, her face a mask of somber professionalism, is speaking. I fumble for the remote, my fingers thick and clumsy. I turn up the volume.
A bizarre and horrific scene discovered early this morning at a remote rental cabin near Pine Ridge. The bodies of a couple, identified as Michael and Sarah Vance, were found by family members who had arrived for a Christmas Day visit. Police report the suspect, a man who had escaped from the Hellbrook psychiatric facility, was found at the scene, suffering from severe self-inflicted wounds. The suspect had, according to sources, been a patient at Hellbrook since the age of 8, following another tragic incident at the very same cabin property 20 years ago.
The remote slips from my hand. It hits the floor with a plastic crack. No. This isn't right. My name is David Reed. I have a wife, Elena. A son, Josh, who's 12. A daughter, Lily, who's 10. We came to the Pines and rented cabin 7 4 days before Christmas. We were packed into the SUV, inching up a mountain road that looked like it hadn't been maintained since the early 90s, passing snow-covered pines and frosted boulders. Christmas playlists hummed through the speakers. My wife tapped the beat on her thigh. The kids were arguing about who got the bigger marshmallow packet. Normal, warm, safe. I remember thinking, this is the Christmas I always wanted. The city was all rain and gray slush, but up here, 3 hours north, a foot of pristine white powder. The cabin was a postcard, big windows, old timber, strings of multicolored lights, and our only neighbors were half a mile away. My wife stepped out first, stretching, smiling wide. The kids ran through the snow like they were toddlers again, laughing. Their footprints trailed behind them, clean and perfect.
Daddy, look!
Lily had squealed, launching herself into a snowdrift the moment we parked. Josh, trying to play it cool, was already packing a snowball with deadly precision. Elena wrapped her arm around my waist, her cheek cold against mine.
You did good. This is perfect.
She whispered. Inside, everything smelled like cedar and cold stone. A fireplace, thick rugs. Stress just melted away. We built a lopsided snowman. We drank cocoa by the fire. We played board games until the kids' eyes glazed over. I remember watching them, my heart so full I thought it might burst. This was the Christmas I never had as a kid, the one I'd promised myself I'd give my own family. The first wrong thing was small. That night, after the kids went to bed, I caught my wife staring at the wall for a full minute. Not moving, not blinking, just staring. "Hey," I said softly. "You good?" She blinked.
Of course, sorry. Must have spaced it. I'm tired.
This was easy to wave away, I was tired too. It was the night of the 23rd. I was in the kitchen, prepping veggies for stew. Elena was reading by the fire. The kids were in the loft bedroom, supposedly asleep. I heard a sound, a wet, rhythmic snick-snick sound, coming from the living room. I peered around the corner. Elena was still in her armchair, book in her lap, but she was staring into the fire, her expression blank, and in her hand was the big bone-handled hunting knife we used to split kindling. She was slowly drawing the blade across the arm of the chair, back and forth, slicing tiny threads from the fabric. "Elena," she jumped. The knife clattered to the floor. She blinked, looked at me, and her face softened into her usual smile.
Sorry, honey. Miles away. Thinking about stockings. I think I forgot Josh's big gift in the trunk.
She laughed, a little too high. It was nothing. Stress. The drive. I told myself again. The next morning, my son was throwing snowballs at the tall pines surrounding the cabin. That's when it hit. One second he was laughing. The next he was lying in that same snow, body broken, steam rising from the wound on his chest, like a fresh-cut steak thrown on a grill. Blood pumping in small, rhythmic spurts. I blinked. Gone. Back to normal. Back to him smiling up at the sky while snowflakes landed on his tongue. He didn't notice me staring. I must be tired. Stressed. The dread started then, a low, humming fear in my blood. Lily, my sweet Lily, began humming a tune, a tuneless, atonal series of notes while drawing. I looked at her pictures one afternoon. "What you drawing, kiddo?"
Us?
She said. The drawing showed the four of us all right, but our heads were crushed in, flattened like someone took a shovel to each skull. My daughter pushed a red crayon so hard it snapped in half. Then she looked up at me with a smile way too wide for her face.
Do you like it, Daddy?
I swallowed the stone forming in my throat. Yeah, sweetheart. It's something. Her lips twitched, like she knew I was lying. I called my wife over to look. By the time she got there, Lily was finishing up and lifted her paper. We were still there as a family, but there were no bashed-in heads. The only red on the paper were the dots in the tree to represent Christmas lights. That night, I woke up needing a glass of water. The hallway was dark. The door to the kids' room was ajar. I saw a slice of moonlight from the window. And in that slice, I saw them, Josh and Lily, standing side by side at the foot of their beds, not moving, just staring at the wall. Their postures were all wrong, slack yet rigid, like dolls waiting to be posed. I backed away, my heart hammering against my ribs. I bumped into the hallway table. A framed picture wobbled and fell. My bedroom door flew open. Light flooded the hall. Elena stood there squinting.
David, what's wrong?
I looked back to the kids' room. They were tucked in their beds, sleeping peacefully. Or pretending to. I heard a noise, I stammered. She looked at the shattered glass, then scanned my face.
It's just a picture. We can replace the frame. Come back to bed. You're exhausted.
The days became a waking nightmare, sandwiched between terrors of sleep. I'd see Elena laughing as she decorated the tree, and for a fraction of a second, I'd see a flash of her with a grotesque frozen scream, her neck bent at an impossible angle. I'd watch Josh building a Lego castle, and my vision would superimpose an image of him crawling across the floor, his legs twisted. The worst was Lily. I'd see her hugging her stuffed reindeer, and then I'd see the reindeer's head torn off, its stuffing replaced with dark, wet clots, and Lily's mouth smeared red. I tried to leave. I'd pack up my family and go, but something always went wrong. I got them in the car, keys nowhere to be found. I'd run inside and they'd be there, playing games. I'd have my keys, step outside and just stand there, only coming back to myself when I heard my family laughing while making snow angels. Each time I tried to leave, it was as if I'd forget to, like stepping into the next room just to forget what I was doing. I was unraveling. I stopped sleeping. I hid the big knife. I checked the locks 10 times a night. My loving family watched me do it, their heads tilting in unison, like curious birds observing a wounded worm. On Christmas Eve, everything shattered. We were about to sit for dinner. I'd managed to cook a turkey, something I did every year, a pathetic last-ditch effort at normalcy. Elena, offering to help, and made hot chocolate, placing my mug near me and calling the kids for theirs. Then, without warning, her face ripped open. In my head, in another flash, I saw her skull exposed. Cheeks split open, one eye missing, blood pouring down her neck in thick ropes. She screamed silently. In the real world, she hadn't moved an inch. I staggered back, knocking over a mug. Hot chocolate splashed up my arm, burning.
Oh my gosh, you okay?
Yeah, I croaked, rubbing the burn. Just tired. She leaned in, pressing a kiss to my cheek. Her lips felt ice cold. My heart was thumping as she walked me to the table, saying she'll bring the food. She brought the carving board to the table. On it was the turkey, golden brown, and beside it, gleaming under the Christmas lights, was the bone-handled hunting knife, the one I'd hidden under a loose floorboard in the basement. She saw me see it. Her smile didn't waver.
Time to carve, David.
Josh and Lily took their seats. They didn't speak. They just looked at me. The hum in my blood became a scream. This was it. This was the night. They weren't my family. Something had taken them. Something in this cursed cabin. Something that had been waiting. I stood. I'm not hungry, I said, my voice a hoarse scrape.
Sit down, David.
Elena said, not a request, a command. The voice was hers, but the inflection was all wrong. Cold. Final. I ran. I don't even remember deciding. I just ran. Out the front door, into the blistering cold in my socks. The snow burned my feet. I didn't get far. I hid behind the woodpile, gasping, the frigid air searing my lungs. I had to get help. But the car keys were inside. My phone was inside. They were inside. I waited until the lights went out. I waited, shaking, my feet numb. Then I crept back, through the basement window. It was old, but I remembered the latch was broken. I'd noted it earlier. I slipped inside. The basement was pitch black. I felt my way to the stairs. I needed a weapon. My hands found the workbench. A claw hammer. I gripped it. It felt solid. Real. I crept up the stairs. The door at the top was slightly open. A sliver of firelight spilled through. I pushed it open. The living room was a scene from hell. The Christmas tree was on its side, ornaments shattered. And they were there, in the middle of the room. Elena, Josh, Lily. They were dragging themselves across the floor toward me. Their bodies were broken, battered, arms bent backwards, joints twisted, eyes swollen. They were leaving thick, glistening trails on the floorboards. Their mouths moved in unison, a horrid, pained chorus. My mind broke. The last cord of sanity snapped. These weren't my family. These were things, wearing their skins, mimicking their pain, trying to lure me in, to finish me. The visions I'd seen, they weren't warnings. They were previews of what these things had done to my real family. And now, they were coming for me. A savage roar tore from my throat. Not a word, just pure, undiluted terror and rage. I didn't think. I moved, and swung, and swung. and swung. Blood hit the walls in arcs. Screams rose and cut off. Bones cracked. Skin tore. Hands clawed at my shirt, slipping down with every hit. It wasn't me. It couldn't have been me. I was saving them. I was killing the things that took them. I didn't stop until none of them moved. Until everything inside me went quiet. Until I was alone in the dark with what I'd done. When the room was silent except for the crackle of the fire and my own ragged sobs, I looked at the hammer in my hand. It was slick. Dark. I looked at the ruined things on the floor that wore the faces of my wife and children. I had failed them. I had let the horror in. There was only one way out. I walked to the table and grabbed the bone-handled hunting knife. Then I woke up here, in this hospital bed. The anchor continues, her voice the only sound in my hollow world.
Police have confirmed the suspect is the sole survivor of the original Pine Ridge cabin massacre on Christmas Eve 20 years ago. His father, Robert Reed, murdered his wife and daughter before attempting to kill his young son, David. The father then took his own life. Young David Reed was found, catatonic with shock, at the scene. He's been institutionalized ever since.
The memory slammed into me like a truck, bright and searing. Me as a boy, 8 years old, laughing. The snow's falling. My dad is helping me roll the bottom ball of a snowman. My mom is cheering from the porch. My little sister is trying to lift a coal for the eye. My dad's smile is wide, genuine. It's perfect. Then another flash. Later that night. The cabin is warm. But my dad is at the window staring out at the snowman. His back is tense. He's muttering.
They're watching. In the snow. They look like us, but they're not. They want in.
My mom's voice frightened.
Robert, stop. You're scaring the children.
The flashes come faster, fractured. A old film of atrocity. My dad's face twisted in a paranoia I couldn't understand. My mother yelling for my sister and I to run. 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 So we did. Out the front door by the woodpile. Snow fell softly around us, each flake too peaceful for what was happening 10 feet away. Then Mom screamed. High, sharp, cut short. The door crashed open. Dad stumbled out, axe in hand. Not the dad I knew. Not anymore. His eyes were wild, rolled too far up. His shirt drenched in blood, like he'd been swimming in it. My sister whispered.
Daddy?
His head snapped to the woodpile, smiled, a cracked, crooked thing.
Kids, help me stop it.
Mom fell out of the doorway, chest carved open, neck sliced halfway through, her hand squeezing it down trying to stop the bleeding. She crawled toward us, knee bent backwards, trailing fire engine red blood behind her, her voice bubbling.
Run!
Dad ran to her, jerked her backward by her hair and slammed her head into the ice. Once, twice. A third time, skull cracking like porcelain. My sister screamed. Dad turned toward her. I moved without thinking. I shoved her behind me, arms spread, crying, begging, trying to be bigger than I was. Dad's face twitched. Some part of him recognized me. Then it snapped away. He came at us. I remember the blur of motion. Cold air. Snowflakes swirling like confetti at a funeral. He swung. It hit my shoulder instead of my neck. The pain was white-hot, blinding. I fell backward. My sister screamed my name. Dad grabbed her by the arm. Her tiny body lifted off the ground, then slammed down. Hard. Her cry stopped mid-breath. He raised the axe, and that's when he hesitated. For half a second, almost like he was fighting himself. But that battle lasted too short. His face snapped back to that dead-eyed expression. He swung down. Then, he looked right at me. A gunshot rang out. He jerked forward. Another shot. He dropped the axe. I saw a neighbor, Mr. Calloway, I learned later, charging across the snow with a gun, firing again and again until my father fell to his knees, blood pumping from his chest like a fountain. He looked at me one last time and smiled as he sunk down into the snow, not like a monster, like a father proud of something. Then he grabbed the axe handle, pulling it under his own chin, and drove his throat down onto the blade. His dead eyes stare right at me. That moment, that precise frozen second where my father's dead gaze met my living one, that was the moment my mind fractured. The moment doctors later said I left myself, where David Reed ended and the patient began. The memory dissolves, rushing back into the sterile present. The news anchor is finishing.
A tragic reminder of mental health struggles, especially during the holiday season. The victims, Michael and Sarah Vance, had no connection to the suspect. They were simply in the wrong place at a terrible time. And now, on a lighter note.
She smiles, a bright, professional, empty smile.
If you're traveling for the holidays, bundle up. It's going to be a snowy Christmas. We hope you're all having a safe and happy holidays.
The screen cuts to a commercial for a new car, sparkling in snow. I lie there. The drip of the IV is the only sound. Drip, drip, drip. My name is David Reed. I'm lying in a hospital bed. I've always been lying in a hospital bed. For 20 years. I can hear the cops outside now speaking with the doctors. I managed to slip through a window of the asylum and run. They say, I came upon a gas station where I shoved a man into his vehicle as he was getting in, that I killed him, and he's still in the SUV, that I drove to the cabin, off the imprinted memory from my childhood alone. I broke in from the basement window and hid. Said I was living my life with Elena, Josh, Lily, when something happened and I bludgeoned a couple to death. The doctors think the couple said Merry Christmas to each other, and in hearing this I snapped. In the end, when it was all done, I slit my own throat. All of it, every single second of terror and happiness, of violence and love, was the elaborate, grotesque fiction of a shattered mind, rehearsing its trauma over and over, until it found a way to play it out for real, with innocent strangers. I leaned back against the pillows, staring at the ceiling tiles, then at my wrist cuffed to the bed rail, feeling something crack open again. A small flurry of snowflakes danced across my vision, pulling my gaze, and in the corner of the room, just for a second, I saw my wife, broken, bleeding, and my heart monitor spiked. The doctors rushed toward me, nurses calling out, hands grabbing my wrists, sedatives drawn. Too late. I screamed, a raw, feral, ripped-open sound. The convulsions started after that. Then, the darkness washed over me. Not like sleep. More like an old friend pulling me back home.
And there you have it. A little holiday cheer soaked in blood, trauma, and a whole lot of maybe don't book a remote cabin for Christmas this time, huh? If this kind of true style, psychologically brutal horror is your thing, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And remember, not all family traditions are worth keeping. Well, until next time.